Good morning. Welcome to our Dharma family service. And before I go any further, Happy Mother's Day. I want to wish a Happy Mother's Day to mothers out there and to everyone in a way to celebrate our mothers. We'd like to begin our service with Sutra Chanting. And today we will chant Juseige, and the words will appear on the screen. Namandam, 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 namandam. Gagon cho segan hishimu jodo shigan fumanzok seifu joshogak gaomu nyoko fui dai seishu fusai shobingu seifu joshogak gashi jobutsudo myosho chojippo 苦教未所門、政府上昇学、利欲人少年、上映主本業、しぐむ浄土、一生天人師、人力現代公、不傷無才道、少女三苦名、交際集約難、会一営言、滅死根門案、閉塞主門、高僧上満足、いよの実法、日月主十期、天候普賢、一種解放像、公正独法、上大集中、説法四式、供養一切仏、具足修徳本、元年出上満、得意三害用、如仏無下知、通達未不詳、願学営力、投資最小損、志願や国家、大仙を感動、国書天人、東鎮妙見。ナマンダブ、ナマンダブ、ナマンダブ、ナマンダブ、ナマンダブ、ナマンダブ、がんにしくどく、平等性祭、道本菩提心、往生安楽国。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナマンダ、ナマンダ、ナマンダ。Okay, next we'd like to recite the three treasures. And once again, this will be on the screen. The three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life, now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Buddha Dharma, now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves your supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in your life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of the Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda. Okay, thank you, everyone. Good morning. Once again, happy Mother's Day. Today's actually lots going on. We have Mother's Day. Now, if this was normal times, quote unquote, non-pandemic, we would already have full stomachs from our Parents' Day breakfast, right? And we would have had to do Parents' Day because Father's Day is always taken up with bazaar, right? And so it's kind of interesting how the pandemic, changes things so much. So we can kind of relax and think about Mother's Day kind of specifically without feeling like the father's being left out. Now, there's also, next week, we're going to be doing Gotane, which is our celebration of Shinran Shonin's birthday. And after class, after service, there's going to be Dharma school class, and they're, thinking about a question, where are you from? Right. And so I kind of wanted to try and tie it all together, but it's a little bit difficult. Thinking about Shinran Shonin's mother, I think that we don't know much because biographies weren't written about Shinran until three generations later. Right, Kakunyo, his great-grandson, wrote the first biography, and so that's a long period of time. Right, to start writing stuff down. And then later biographies, they start adding more and more and more details to embellish the story, right, which might not really be factual or historical. So we don't know a lot about Shinran Shonin's mother, and he does write about his parents, all other than just kind of mention my parents. Right? But I think we can understand that he did lead a somewhat difficult life. With maybe the most difficult being entering the monastery as a child, right? Age 9, that Shinran had to enter the monastery. So had his mother passed away by then? If she hadn't, he had to leave, right? And go as a 9-year-old, right? To go enter the monastery. And so there's kind of an interesting story about that experience of him going into the monastery. So give me a sec here. Now remember, age 9, and he was going to go, I don't know if he wanted to, but he was going to go get ordained, right? And it was kind of in the evening or late afternoon evening, right? And so the head priest there thought, maybe we should wait. It's late. You've had a difficult journey getting here. It's a difficult thing. Why don't we do it tomorrow? And so Shinran Shonin is said to have spontaneously composed this poem. And the Japanese for the kanji is at the top, and then I put it all in hiragana so that I can read it, and maybe you can read the hiragana. Asu ari to omou kokoro no adazakura, yowa ni arashi no fukanu mono kawa. And so the translation is, we may think, I will view the cherry blossoms tomorrow, but a storm might arise in the night. And if you look on the right side, this picture, that's a statue of Shinran, supposedly at age 9. Right? And so we associate this with the Tanjo, his birth, right? So, being a baby and being 9 seems like a pretty big gap, but this is such an important part of Shinran's story. Right. And so this, he's like, no, impermanence. Right. We may think, we'll look at the cherry blossoms tomorrow and, the beautiful cherry blossoms. It's already kind of past that time for us, maybe here, and yet maybe still around. Right. But if a storm comes, it'll blow all the leaves off, all the petals. right? So this deep insight into impermanence. So the head priest is like, wow, this is a special kid, right? Let's do it. And he gets ordained in that time. And so, when I got ordained, when any of us get ordained at Honganji, we do it in the late afternoon as kind of tribute to this experience of Shinran. So, it seems to me, 9-year-old kid had deep experience with impermanence. Right? And to me, maybe that says something about his relationship with his mother. Now, I was also thinking, I've been doing the 3 B's, right? To be aware, be kind, and be yourself. And so thinking about that third one, right? Be yourself. So part of that question that I need to ask myself is, well, who am I? Right? In order to be myself, who am I? What I've learned, though, is that in order to answer that question, who am I? My mother is part of that. Right? Who am I includes my mother. Even though I might be talking, it seems like, who am I? Me, right? It seems like I'm talking about me. And yet, I'd have to talk about my mother in order to really answer that question. So I'd like to share a picture. There I am, not on the left. That's my dad, right? And on the right side is my mom. And then there in the middle is me. I did this big, I'll do a close-up in a second, but I did this big picture so you could see that cool lantern, right? This is, I believe, at Meiji Jingu, Meiji Shrine in Tokyo. And kind of traditional, maybe, if you live in Tokyo, to take your newborn child to the shrine. And so, it's Shinto, it's not Buddhist, but that's okay. And let me do the close-up. So there I am. Can you recognize me? Look at those little hands, right? And then my mom and my dad, right? And you can tell my dad's Caucasian, right? And my mom is Asian, right? Or Japanese. But, thinking about who they are, that doesn't capture nearly any of it, right? It's an important part of it. My dad being Caucasian and my mother being Japanese. But that's only one part of the picture. That's race. And that's only part of it. So then if I really want to think about, well, my father was Caucasian American, right? He was an American citizen. And if you believe the stories, 12th generation Caucasian American. Now my mother at this time was Japanese American, because she had obtained American citizenship in the year previous. Right? So when I say my mom was Japanese, she was also American. It gets confusing because, wait a second, this is Tokyo, right? I was born in Tokyo, right? But I'm American too. I'm an American citizen, right? I'm half white, half Japanese, American citizen from the minute I was born, right? But born in Tokyo, right? And so thinking about, if someone asked me, where are you from? It's kind of a trick question, right? And I'm thinking, it's not a good question to ask. It seems like an okay question to ask, right? But it's such a loaded question, right? Because if someone recognizes that I'm Asian, a lot of times what you get, if you're Asian or Asian American, right? And then someone says, where are you from? And you say, oh, I'm from Oakland. And they're like, no, where are you from? Well, or for me, I'm from Tokyo, right? Or I'm from Oakland or whatever. What would I answer? Where are you from? It's like, well, that's a long story. Maybe a better question would be, what's your story? Right? Wouldn't that be kind of a better question to ask instead of where are you from? It's like a leading question. I think a lot of times people don't even know what they mean when they say that. But if we could say, what's your story? What are you about? Right? Maybe that's a better question. I mean, do you really want to know? I would say it's a long story. How much time you got, right? So, this question, where are you from, right, is kind of loaded, and yet we get asked. Right? My answer is, because sometimes they talk about Japanese-born ministers, but I'm a Japanese-born minister. But culturally, I'm an American minister, right? But I'm Japanese-born. right? So a lot of times when we ask these questions or we come up with these things to try and say, you're about this. I'm going to stop sharing the picture, even though I like that picture. You know, trying to kind of box us in, right? I want to understand easy. I don't need all this detail. American born, where are you from, right? We get these kind of answers that seem okay, and yet sometimes they create stereotypes, right? So I think when we ask these questions, we want to not be careful, but how about be sensitive, be aware, right? Be aware of the implications of what I'm asking, right? Be aware. Do I really even want to know? If I don't want to know, then don't ask, right? If I've already got an agenda in what I'm asking, then just say it, right? You don't have to lead me in and box me in so that, you know, that I don't know. Can you tell how frustrating? I think a lot of you know how frustrating this can be, right? If I ask myself the question, who am I? To realize, whoa, who I am depends on others, right? Who I am isn't just about me. And so in this occasion, right, of Mother's Day, for me to ask the question, who am I? Maybe I want to turn the question away from myself and think about my mother, think about my parents, right? Think about how much I receive from them. Think about the struggles that they went through, right? Think about their lives and the difficulties that they experienced, and yet also the love, right, and care that they gave to me, right? Only wanting the best for me. I can criticize and think, you know, why didn't she do this, or they should have done that. But if I really think about it, right, 50 years on, I finally realize, oh, they just wanted the best for me. Right? They were just thinking about me and trying to give me the best life that I could have. So I'd like to go back to Shinran Shonin really briefly, and he has this wonderful poem, another poem written much later in his life. Right? The first one about the cherry blossoms was written at age 9. This one written much later in his wasans. Right? His poems in praise of the Pure Land, in praise of the Buddha. And so let me share this with you. I shared it last week too, I think, or a couple weeks ago. Shakyamuni and Amida are our father and our mother, full of love and compassion for us. Guiding us through various skillful means, they bring us to awaken the supreme Shinjin, the entrusting mind, right? Turning away from samsara, even though in the midst of samsara, and finally having a direction towards the Pure Land, right? Finally having a direction towards the Dharma, right? Not just about the worldly stuff. So this is a really interesting insight of Shinran, huh? Shakyamuni as our father, Amida as our mother, right? So maybe as part of this Dharma family on this Mother's Day, we can also feel like, wow, we're all together. We're all part of this family. And we all have this father and mother, Shakyamuni and Amida, these compassionate parents guiding us and leading us. So I want to thank you very much for joining us for our Dharma family service on this very special day of the year, Mother's Day. And so why don't we conclude with Gassho? And I'd like to read this poem from Shinran Shonin one more time. Shakyamuni and Amida are our father and our mother, full of love and compassion for us. Guiding us through various skillful means, they bring us to awaken the supreme Shinjin. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda. Okay. Thank you very much. And I'd like to turn it over to Hondo for announcements.
Thank you, Sensei, for your Dharma message. All right, so Robert is going to share his screen. He's going to help me out with announcements today. So yeah, the following events could be found on the BCA website. So the remaining dates for the 2021 BCA Youth Retreat are July 12th to the 16th. We have the BYR, the BCA Youth Retreat. And on Saturday, November 6th, is the BYR and Friends reunion event. And another event I'd like to share is the Eastern Buddhist League Expressions of Gratitude Conference. That's on May 29th and the 30th. It will be live streamed via Zoom and YouTube, and it's all day long events. All the times it's on the East Coast, so keep in mind it's all in Eastern time. You can register on the Juseige Buddhist Temple website. I'll post the link in the chat box after this, and you can find information about all these events and more on at the Buddhist Churches of America website. And also, I would like to share some deal events. As you know, because I've been talking about it every week, on May 15th, which is a week from yesterday, we have our BCO Life Enrichment Program from 2 to 4 p.m. It will be featuring Chen Han, the author of Be the Refuge, Raising the Voices of Asian American Buddhists. She'll be in conversation with Dr. Funi Su, who is an assistant professor of American Studies in the Humanities Department at San Jose State University, and she's also a BCO member. They will also be joined by members of our junior YBA in a kind of a fishbowl discussion. So that should be really interesting. I'm excited to hear the conversations. And also, Funi and Chen are, they just got back from Los Angeles, where they helped organize the May We Gather National Buddhist Memorial. So, if anybody has any questions about the event, about that event as well, it would be a good opportunity to chat with them as well. So again, that's next week on May 15th on Saturday. Please visit the website and register. Yet, I think it's going to be a really fantastic event. And following that Saturday on the 16th, we have our on Sunday we have our Gotane Fuji Matsuri service, the celebration of Shinran Shonen's birthday. That will also feature Chen Han in conversation with Reverend Bridge. So we have that to look forward to as well. So yeah, next weekend sounds like it'll be a good time. I also want to share a couple of fundraising events that are going on right now. So on Saturday, May 22nd, it's one day only. There's a Panda Express fundraiser for the BCA Endowment Foundation. 28% of sales will be donated to the Endowment Foundation. I'll post the link to that on the website. The orders must be placed online, though, if you want to contribute to BCA. And also, there's a Bay District Junior YBA hoodie fundraiser. I looked at the designs for the hoodies. They're pretty nice, pretty cool designs. So I will also post the link to the hoodie fundraiser in the chat box as well after this. And yeah, I'd also like to remind that donations to a BCO are graciously accepted, and I will include the link to that in the chat box as well. So that concludes my announcements for today. Thank you, everyone, and look forward to seeing
you. You muted yourself right there at the end. It's okay.
Thank you. All right. I think we can stop sharing screen now.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Hondo. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this Mother's Day Dharma Family Service. And so we'll conclude our service with Kansho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda.